All right, how's it going?
Yeah. Hi. It's going good.
Awesome. So what
Uh,
are we talking about today?
you made the video criticizing Joey Carbstrong's approach in a discussion,
Mhm.
and I just completely disagree with a lot of your criticism on how he handled it.
Mhm.
So I commented on that, and then you asked me to come on here to elaborate more. I guess
Yeah.
so. I'll love to do that, but maybe first we should like have some short introduction of ourselves because I don't know that much about you or haven't seen that much of your content and stuff. So
Yeah. So yeah, my name is Carson Hughes. My channel is Reasonable Vegan. I live in Oregon in the US. And so I've been vegan for 9 years. I've been kind of
wow.
philosophically vegan for like about 20 years, like off and on. And I finally uh Earthlings, the documentary, pushed me over the edge. And but anyways, I've been fighting for animal rights for a while, and I used to have a more extreme approach of just telling people like that they need to be vegan and they're horrible people if they don't. And more recently, I have a more relaxed approach, and I like to think about it more philosophically on in different areas, but mostly like how our approaches affect other people and how it affects if people become vegan or not. But anyways, so I have a channel on YouTube that's under my name that I've had for a year that is mostly politics and philosophy. But then because of wanting to do more vegan content, I made the vegan channel about 4 weeks ago. And yeah, so that's where we're at. How about you? How long have you been vegan, and do you do anything like street activism or podcast type stuff?
Yeah. So I grew up eating animals every day. And I had like a really long and gradual transition to being vegan because it wasn't like a planned thing. Didn't have kind of the end goal in sight. It was just like more and more factors who drove me in that direction. So
Mhm.
I was flexitarian for 4 years, where I kind of just like ate meat more and more rarely, and it got to a point where it was mostly my the circumstance, like social settings and stuff, that would keep me back, that I like wouldn't just say no when people offered me animal products and stuff,
Mhm.
even though maybe I think a part of me wanted to, but I went vegetarian in the summer of 2018 and vegan the summer of 2020, and that yeah, I think it was when it okay, I started the YouTube channel when the gyms had to close down because of COVID, because I am a personal trainer. I work in like a gym.
Mhm.
So when I started my YouTube channel, it was mostly about like training and food. I was really into nutrition and stuff. So but fall 2021, I think I started like talking more about veganism in my videos, and about a year ago I started doing more street activism. Now my channel is kind of like all vegan activism.
Mm.
uh, so yeah, I started going out with just a table and a banner and do like debates, and I also joined like several groups who do like cubes and like cube of truth reality
Okay.
type of and last fall I also started working in the Norwegian animal rights organization as like recruiting uh, supporters, donators to them.
Mhm.
So now I juggle working with the animal rights organization NOAA and still work in the gym. So
Oh, cool.
and yeah, and some YouTubing on the side as well.
Okay. Yeah, when I talked to you on in the YouTube comments, I must not have gone to your channel. I didn't know that you do videos on veganism. So I will link your channel in the description of this talk that we have.
Yeah,
so
cool.
people can find you. Cool. Okay. Well, okay. So yeah, what are some of your thoughts on which parts you think I was wrong about when it comes to Joey?
Well, actually, just like the entire how you described, like he being like so extreme and extremely rude, and like you called him an asshole several times, and just like the description of the debate as like this is why people hate vegans, and I feel like we watched completely different videos. I felt like, because there was a huge part of the discussion before the part you commented,
Mm-hmm.
which was included, and I think that's important to include because when you have conversations with people on the street, it's like a social interaction is way different from watching someone else debate. And when you watch like how someone else is doing it on the screen, then it's easy to maybe pinpoint exactly, oh, they should have said this instead of that, or they could have said this thing a bit different, and like um, but when you're in that situation, it's completely different. I don't know if you've done a lot of street activism or like talk to random strangers about veganism.
So I
That.
haven't done any street stuff, but I do lots of conversations like these. So I have to think of how to talk on the spot, and it's kind of personal because we can see each other and hear each other. I do want to do more street. I want to do table talks, and I don't think I would do as well as Joey. I actually like Joey. I subscribe to his channel and I follow his stuff. When I do critiques like the one that you watched, I view it kind of like somebody watching a chess game. I could watch two people play chess that are better than me. And they could both be better than me, but I could spot like a bad move. And I'm only spotting that because I'm not in the moment. I'm watching it. And so I like the idea of when I see videos like this, if I point out issues that are had, and I I try to be as honest as possible. So I know that there's a bunch of video before the part I commented on, but that's why I preface that I don't think that it affected it. Now, it has to affect it in a sense because maybe the amount of time they talked could make somebody irritated. And so Joey could have been more irritated. But I felt like, considering what they talked about, they were both respectful to each other until the part that I commented on. And that's kind of and I made a note because you talked about how you were flexitarian for a while before being vegan, and I was too. I didn't know that term or anything, but when I was younger, I was vegan for like a year and a half, and then I stopped, and then I was off and on once a week or whatever. And that lady that he was talking to in the video talked about how she used to think she needed to eat meat all the time, but then she met some nice people that convinced her that she should cut back on meat. And I don't know if it was for ethical reasons or not, but let's assume maybe it's for ethical reasons, and therefore she's not quite a flexitarian probably, but something like that. And I imagine if somebody talked to you when you were a flexitarian, or me when I was on the fence, the way Joey talked to her, I just feel like a lot of people would go, oh, I don't want any part of this movement. So I guess that's my biggest concern. And I'll point out before you respond to that, my first issue that I had was when he started it felt like a harassment of sorts to me, and she made a comment about that she's not going to ever go vegan because it was like a quick reaction. It was a bad reaction on her part. I think she said a lot of bad things, but she said, I'm not going to ever go vegan, but I want to reduce. And if you talk to people and you're nicer to them, they're more likely to listen. And when Joey heard the not ever going to go vegan, he goes, see, that there you are. You said you're never going to do it, so it doesn't matter. And she talks about the approach, and then he says, well, tell me how I can make you go vegan. What's the nice approach I could do? Obviously, that's a dumb question because she doesn't want to go vegan because she hasn't been convinced. So him saying, tell me what I can do, is just pretending like that's an actual thing that matters to be nice. does that make sense? Like, obviously there's nothing he could do to make her go vegan. He could just be nicer to make her think vegans aren't jerks, if that makes sense.
Okay, so yeah, we can definitely go into that, reduction part and all of that. But first, I want to say, like, the video I saw of them talking, you said now you described it as they were being respectful to each other up until a point where Joey started to get rude. That's not at all the video I saw. I saw him being extremely polite and calm throughout 20-30 minutes, while she was constantly talking over him, like, you never let him finish any points, and she was continuously, like, ridiculing his stance, and like, whenever he would bring up, like, the actual animal cruelty, and like shifting the focus away from what she perceived as food onto, like, the animals, she would always say, but you'll never get anyone to your vegans are all extreme, and you seem like a nice person, but you're an extremist, and all of this, and constantly, like, just laughing off the horrible atrocities that he spends his life trying to, like, to get rid of, or to, yeah. And when people talk to you like that and are being so rude, and like, don't take you as seriously at all, the causes you're interested in or trying to change, but people just laugh it off to your face for 25 minutes, the human instinct reaction is that you want to punch them in the face. Like, and but Joey, he didn't even raise his voice. He didn't even, like, start to talk over her until the part where you showed. So I thought he handled that extremely well and kept calm. He even told her, like, you seem like a nice person to be around, and I don't know if he was being sarcastic or just polite, but, like, so yeah, I think he handled that extremely well. And he also said, like, in the beginning, that his approach, and even Earthling Ed's approach, sometimes are a bit extreme too. So I don't know exactly what you mean by that, by extreme in that sense. Like, in other scenarios, like, extremism is linked to, like, the use of violence. But, like, if patience was a person, I would say that would be Ed Winters of Earthling Ed, and also, like, Joey Carbstrong, like, and these, like, discussions face to face are, like, it's a sensitive issue. It's something people get really emotional about, and so yeah, I mean, I thought he was being very polite and handled it really well, and I don't think he was kind of, like, mocking her idea of reduction. I think he was just, like, trying to hold her accountable for her lifestyle. A lot of times people will blame vegans for why they aren't vegan, but because it's, like, just an easy thing. Oh, some vegan was mean to me, and that's why I won't go vegan. But you know, we aren't vegan because of vegans. We are vegan, like, for animals. And
well, and that's the thing. I think it takes people's mindset to change for them to be vegan for the animals. Now, you might be more like me, where you just got it quicker than your average person. But when people grow up eating animals and thinking it's normal, and they're addicted to it and they love the taste, they're going to have to be convinced that they're not, like, a bad person, and they're going to have to stop and think about it, and eventually it'll click in, but it just takes a while to click in. So I do think we need to be, I don't know about respectful, but we need to recognize that individual brains are different, and which is why I like Ed's approach. I do want to point out, though, I don't remember her interrupting him in that video, And I can go back and watch it, because if I'm wrong, I hate being dishonest. So I wouldn't want to show just a section to make one person look bad, because I care about Joey. I care about the vegans, and how we approach other people. So that lady, she might have had some bad moments, and I don't know if I would have handled it as well as Joey, but I think we should handle it better, at least from how I perceived it. Now, as far as Ed goes, I love Ed. I think Ed is very gentle, and he's he never gets angry, and it's great. When I said even he is a little too extreme for me, it's because I feel like there's a point where you can recognize that somebody is not going to go vegan. They're not gonna stop eating meat and dairy and eggs instantly. And those people, as soon as you can recognize that nothing you can say convinces them, I think the reason that it would be great to convince those people to reduce more is because if they see a cause to reduce, if they say, because I care about the suffering and I'm not going to stop eating meat, I will reduce so there's less suffering. If they do that and they actually act upon it, and they act upon it for a couple weeks, months, years, they're slowly, probably, and hopefully going to do what me and you did, where we weren't vegan, but then we went vegan because we're thinking about it. But if we never get to that level, I think there's a lot of people out there that if we convince them to do like meatless Mondays, and then convince them to cut out dairy, but don't worry about the meat or whatever, then eventually they're going to look at these issues and slowly chip away at them all. And so when I said that Earthling Ed's a bit extreme for me, sometimes he'll have like a 20-minute video, and the first 10 or 15 minutes is great, but you can tell that they are at a stalemate. There's no way on earth that person's going to care about anything else said. And then Ed will just like kind of repeat it in this like almost obnoxious way. And but anyways, I think he's the best person that talks to people on the street. So I didn't really mean, I mostly just meant, I don't know, I was pointing out just my personal thoughts for people to think about.
Yeah, and it's, of course, we can all like master our crafts and get better at what we do and all this. I think it's a big difference between constructive criticism and saying stuff like you're the reason people hate vegans, or what you're doing is damaging to the vegan movement. There are definitely instances where you can say that, and it's true. Like I don't know, like Gary Yurovsky comes to mind. At least some of the things he said, I think he realized it himself, that like he had to stop because it was getting too extreme, and it wasn't benefiting the movement. Like I remember like he was basically defending Israel's bombings of Gaza because there were more vegans in Israel than in Palestine. He didn't use those words, but that was like the message that, yeah. And you know, when people say that like if you kill animals, you deserve to be slaughtered yourself, or if you drink milk, you deserve to be raped, and like stuff like this, then I'm on board with you. Then like that's something that is damaging to the cause, but refusing to accept the like, or to argue for reduction, not so much, I would say, because I think Joey has really good reasons for why he doesn't want to promote reduction. And I don't know if you saw his last video, was like he had a debate with a freegan at some university. He posted, and there he explains it much better than I do. But like still, if the victims were people, we would never tell people to kill fewer people, kill less people. You would tell them to not kill people. And
I don't think so. I would definitely tell them to kill fewer people. Like I get this brought up to me all the time. Like people say, oh, if it was any other injustice, if it was beating kids or beating your wife or slavery or killing people, um, if part of it comes down to the law, you can't kill people because the law is there. But if the law is not there, if right now it was perfectly legal to kill people and somebody killed 7 people a week, and if I couldn't get that person to not kill people, if I said, I need you, please stop killing people, those are innocent people, stop killing them, and they're like, no, and I'm like, would you be up for killing only 3 a week? And they'll go, I could do that. And I go, okay, do that, because that would be saving 4 people a week. Now overall we want the bigger picture, but we still want to also have less suffering if we can, I think.
But still, that's I mean, I would still just keep begging them, please don't kill those people. I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I would never like. I think that's kind of a dishonest in a way, that like you lose kind of track of the main message, and like Joey also said, that by arguing for abolitionism, like to stop the animal exploitation, that will also make people reduce. But if you
Mm-hmm.
promote the idea of reduction and tell people to reduce, they want to reduce, or at least not as much. Like, but by him telling people to go vegan, then he highlights like how cruel this industries, these injustices are. He doesn't say like, or it's not like this health thing where it's like if someone says they smoke fewer cigarettes a day than they used to do, because yeah, we're talking about individual sentient victims, so
Yeah.
you would still say like had the cigarettes been sentient, you would still say it's an injustice to the cigarettes that are still being smoked, kind of.
Yeah. No, I agree. The problem is we're talking to people that are allowed to do a certain thing. And so when you're talking to them, you have to figure out a way to convince them. And I don't think you should be dishonest about it. But honestly, it really comes down to laws. Like if we are in nature and everything was just fine to do, then when you convince somebody of something that they're allowed to do, I can't imagine there being any benefit in making them hate you and your cause. Like I talk to hunters every once in a while on my podcast, and they're hunters, they love meat, they love hunting, but when I talk to them about animal suffering, I can see that they care about animal suffering, and I can get them to like learn about different things like dairy and why maybe they should cut back on their dairy or this or that. Now my main focus is to get them to stop completely, and I agree with you, but I don't think you can work on multiple things at once, and I don't think it really muddies the water if you have a firm stance that suffering should not happen when it's not needed, and then you try to reduce as much suffering as possible. I don't know. I can't see it any other way than that being a benefit, especially when the law is not on your side.
What I tend to do when people start talking about reducing in these conversations, I would say like in the big picture, that's obviously good, but does it make a difference for the animals you still eat? To make them see that like, yeah, you can still acknowledge that a reduction is good, like, yeah, good step, but still like there's some steps way to go, like, and that's how I would do it. I would say like yeah, it's a place to start. You can start with using, but you should at least like have some kind of plan on structure how you're going to reduce, not just because it's so like it's so vague. Like reduction
Yeah.
can, what does it mean? Like just one less bite, or like one
Yeah.
day a week? Like, so at least like have some kind of plan. Maybe you quit the different products week by week. Maybe you try quitting all the products except the ones you like the most. Maybe you try more and more days a week for each week, something like that.
Yeah.
But the goal should always be like to not harm any sentient being if you can. That's how I would do it. But I realize like we need people doing many different types of approaches. We need the, like I said, more sneaky luring people in with like recipes and plant-based like meat replacements and without focusing too much on the cruelty. But we also need people who do focus solely on the cruelty, and like you need to you need all kinds of activists, all kinds of approaches to work together. And I do understand why Joey doesn't advocate for reductionism and stays strong on the message. And I really think infighting, like vegans fighting against each other, is way more damaging to the movement than anything he can could have said. And so we shouldn't try. And he doesn't. If anyone cares about animal suffering, I mean, you cannot portray it as like, oh, he only cares about his list of how many people he can turn vegan, but not the actual animal suffering.
Maybe I went too far with that comment, but to me, unlike other people, he seems to just have this I don't know, it just feels like his goal is to turn people vegan, but he wants to know it. It's kind of weird, but I think he cares about animals. I think he cares a lot. And if I didn't come across as somebody that still likes Joey, then I didn't do a good job with that video, because that's why I wanted to preface it. I wanted to have that intro where I said, similar to how I'm bothered by how people are reacting to Alex of Cosmic Skeptic, I don't want this to be a thing where I'm like talking about Joey being horrible. I still subscribe to him. I still watch his videos, and I still do. If you haven't seen his debates he did in the colleges, he has really awesome college debates. So I like Joey, and I think vegan infighting is bad, but also even not just infighting, vegans just looking like how they look talking to Alex, Cosmic Skeptic. I don't know if you've been paying attention to this whole situation, but when non-vegans see this situation and they go, oh, I was thinking about being vegan, but look how these guys are acting about this guy that probably has done more for veganism than most humans ever on earth, aside from maybe Gary Yourofsky. And then he's, having some issues and doing a little slide back right now, and he'll probably be vegan again someday. I think that people being extreme like that is probably the biggest thing to hurt veganism. So that was not my intent with how I talked about Joey.
Then I think you should at least change the title of that video, because that's how it comes across, that like what he's doing is bad for veganism.
Okay.
And,
I'll write a disclaimer in there, but I don't think it's the title, because it's why people hate vegans. The title is not claiming that Joey is why people hate vegans. It's how he's acting. And so maybe I need to have a disclaimer in there, and maybe I'll make a follow-up video. And then this video will be out as well. But I think like I could have done the same thing. I could have done something bad like that, and then years later watch it and go, oh wow, I did this thing that is why people hate vegans. And I could even show that. We're all human, we're all going to make mistakes, and I just think he made a big mistake.
Okay. And I think we like for vegans, Joey has said this himself in earlier videos, like to hear that what you're doing is like damaging the vegan cause. That's in a way the kind of worst thing you can say to vegan, because we're already closing ourselves off from the majority of society. and many like vegans can feel like that they don't belong in a way. So like the vegan community is like when they say what you're doing is wrong, then it's kind of when it hurts the most in a way. And I also think we shouldn't play into the meat eaters thought that like vegans are the reason they're not being vegan. Because I've had, you can have, sometimes it doesn't matter how you handle a discussion, they will hate you anyway. Just the fact that you are a vegan, just they knowing you are vegan is enough of a reminder to them that like the violence they are or their lifestyle choices demand is possible to avoid, and that makes them question stuff about themselves, and it's like an unpleasant truth, and they don't want to face that, so they attribute that unpleasant feeling to the person reminding them of that. Even if that person didn't mean to remind them of that. Like I've had discussions where I've been really outspoken and like really used like violent language and all of this, and people would be like feel that I was still being like genuine and respectful to them, and they would like and I've also had discussions where I've been trying to be like super polite and don't step too much on people's toes, but they would still get pissed off. So I feel like the reason people hate vegans is not all, it has more to do with what we're saying than how we say it.
Yeah, no, I agree. There are so many people that are going to hate vegans. Well, first, before I say this, I want to say to the first thing you said about the most hurtful thing you can say to vegans would be what I said to Joey. And I don't know if Joey's seen my video, but I wouldn't want Joey to feel hurt. That would not be an intention of mine. And I'm glad you pointed that out. And I'll be more careful with how I talk in future videos like that, because that really does matter to me. But I agree with you completely on the next part you said, where I think what happens with non-vegans is people don't want to feel like they're a bad guy. And so if somebody eats meat and then they're told eating meat's bad, your instinct just tells you, I'm not a bad guy. I need to come up with a defense instantly for it. And you figure out for why you're not a bad guy. And then if somebody else is doing a thing that is the opposite of what you're doing, so if somebody's a vegan, then you just think like, oh, they must think they're better than me. And this is a sucky thing that happens with people. And so a lot of people hate vegans just for that reason alone. So I don't think that people, maybe you're right, I should change the title of my video to one of the reasons people hate vegans, because there are many reasons, and I think you're right. And this is probably the main one. And so I think there are a lot of people out there that hate vegans because vegans are sometimes too pushy and too rude with how they talk. Not necessarily that they show too much footage of stuff or tell too many of the truths and whatnot, but because of their attitude. And I don't think I don't know how many vegan haters that's their reason. I think more people hate vegans just because they don't want to feel judged, and they personally are putting that judgment on themselves. But I think there's one that we can control and the other one we can't. So if somebody knows I don't eat animals because I don't want to hurt them, and then they eat animals, then they're going to think on their own that I think they're hurting animals, whether I say it or not. And I can't help that they might hate me because of that. But if I'm talking to people about why they should be vegan and what I think about it, and then separate from the facts, if I just say, you're a bad person if you keep eating meat, then that I can control, that I can figure out a better way to word it. I can figure out what's going to be best for, what can I say that will make less suffering happen to animals in the world. And there's not a right answer to it, but I'm just trying to discover that for myself, like what the best way to talk to people is.
Yeah, it all depends on, I guess, who you're talking to and the setting and the format and like yeah, and then that's like often the first parts of the conversation where you try to like figure out who you're talking to and what their stance are. But so yeah, when we do the reality conversations, when we show slaughterhouse footage and stuff on the screens, and people come up and ask me, "What is this?" Like, if I start off the bat saying like, "Oh, we're vegans and we're here to try to make more vegans, and we're showing you the cruelty you're supporting, so that you will stop supporting it because this is horrible," and like, if I go right to that, then maybe not so strategic. So first I like try. Oh, we're showing clips from Norwegian farms and slaughterhouses, and they go like, "Oh, is this in Norway? Is it? Oh, is it that bad here?" And then gradually like, "Oh, well, what are your thoughts on eating animals?" And then, but some point out in the conversation, then we have to like become more open and like put the cards on the table, you can say. Not telling people they are bad person, but emphasize how bad what they're supporting is, and that they don't have to do it. But I definitely agree with like the people don't want to feel bad, so they get mad. I remember like one time before I was vegan, I was at this vegetarian festival, and someone had like virtual reality glasses, and she was just like polite and asked if I wanted to try them on and stuff. So I did, and suddenly I was a free-range chicken surrounded by like chickens my size for as far as I could see, and it was so uncomfortable and like really maybe one of the first time it hit me that shit, there's someone inside those heads. And it made me feel really uncomfortable and angry. And I also remember like she didn't was super nice and almost didn't say anything, but still I felt I was angry at her. But I felt confused at the same time because I was like angry but didn't know where to place my anger. But eventually I realized, okay, part of me was like angry at myself in a way, but yeah.
Do you ever, when you're doing talks on the street, do you ever talk about your past? Do you tell them that like when you used to eat meat and then it took a little while to be vegan?
Yeah, definitely.
I think that helps. I don't know. I haven't done it, so you would know more than me, but it seems like it would help if people recognize like you ate meat at one point and then before becoming vegan, it wasn't just overnight. It's like that you had to think about it and it really weighed on your mind.
Yeah, definitely. So try to make it like clear to people that like this is not the superiority thing. It's not like we think we're better than anyone else, but we've been there. We know what it's like to view animals as foods. I've killed loads of fish with my own hands and all of this. So and yeah, try to be understanding of their situation, but still making them understand why they need to change or yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that seems like a good point maybe to stop it. Unless, did you have any other thoughts on it?
I think we shouldn't get too hung up on people liking us or not. Like we're not trying to win a popularity contest. Obviously, we want people to like us, but social justice movements have always been hated when they were in opposition. Like 50 years ago, maybe I would be hated if I was a gay rights activist. 100 years ago, I might be hated if I was anti-racist, or you can still be hated for those things today. But I'm just saying, like the what's acceptable by society and not. Like if we're trying to win a popularity contest, then we shouldn't be vegan, because the people will, there's always going to be a lot of pushback to that. So planting seeds is like Joey's language. Many, like some call it extreme or whatever when we use words like gas chambers and slicing throats, and but I think we should, I mean, people are so used to the euphemisms like humane slaughter, or even some say harvesting, like and all of this, but the extreme vegan language is only kind of just like describing objective reality in a way, but people get so upset about it because they're so used to this vision they have of like they're surrounded by the commercials and all the nice words about how animals are treated in their mind and stuff. So
yeah,
we will kind of always sound extreme to a lot of people until these things change. So we shouldn't be too afraid of some shock factor, because a lot of time people need like some, to be shocked or be like hear those words when we describe what's happening to animals and stuff. So
yeah,
no,
I think those are good points, and I think the only thought I have is that it's definitely not a popularity contest, and if the only reason I'd want to be thought of in a better light, it wouldn't be for my own sake for being popular or accepted. It would be if I thought it would benefit the animals. And so it would be interesting to see if there was an alternate universe, if we could have all the vegans maybe talk like Joey to as many people as possible and see how long it takes the world to become vegan. And then if we had the exact same world, but we saw if starting now all the vegans talked maybe more like Earthling Ed or something, and then saw how quick it would affect it. I just I don't know. I don't planting seeds is good depending on the level of anger. But one element I want to comment on that I thought it was interesting you brought up, and I don't think people think about it from this angle that much, is you were talking about like gay rights and stuff like that, like different things that would have been unpopular to have fought for back in the day. One thing that I've noticed that seems to change a lot of people's minds is coming in contact with the victim. So if somebody if somebody that thought it was wrong to be gay just hung out with a gay person that was perfectly normal and a great person, then they'd go, oh, I had this like idea that gay people were bad and I didn't like them. Same thing where if somebody that thought like Muslims were bad and then they hang out with Muslims, then they'll go, oh wow, these are just regular people. I wonder if we figured out a good way to get meat eaters to go and see cows and chickens and stuff at farms. Obviously, we couldn't get them to factory farms to see the bad stuff, but if we could get like our friends and family that aren't vegan to go to like sanctuaries and like pet a cow and see their eyes and see this is a real thing, they might think about that when they're eating something. So that just made me think of it.
I've thought of that too, that many are so like disconnected from their animals, but at the same time you have like farmers who claim to love their animals, but they still send them to be killed. So I guess you're right in a way, but at the same time it's like it's something deeper with like the speciesism, that like even though they might think a cow is cute to pet and something, they still don't see anything wrong with like eating them, and even though they wouldn't do it to a dog and all this. So but yeah, I mean, the more connected people are to these animals, then the more empathetic they'll be towards them. I think,
Yeah, I think that'd be a big help. And another thing is some things just get normalized to the point where if somebody grows up drinking milk, eating eggs, and eating these types of meats, anything else seems strange to them. I remember seeing a video where somebody offered somebody milk and told them it was dog milk. Somebody somehow milked a dog, and
Yeah.
they wouldn't drink it. And it's just weird to think of that we would drink the cow milk because we know other people do it, and we know that we've been doing it as kids so long that we just don't think anything of it. But as soon as it's something else you don't do, or if somebody said like horse meat, or something that we're not used to, and so it's so many layers of not seeing the animals, not being conditioned to think of something as normalized and not wanting to be thought of as bad. And we just have to figure out ways to get these people to break all of those norms away.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was a hard nut to crack. It took like many seeds and many eye openers along the way to gradually make me change step by step, while others can change overnight. And I think we need all types of activists doing different things, and we shouldn't expect like each activist to master all forms of activism or all forms of communication, and that we should like specialize in what we're good at. And I think Joey does that, and I actually also think he's become less extreme during the time these couple of years I've been vegan and watching. I don't know if it's just me getting more and more or further away from my carnist past, and that's why he sounds like less extreme, or if he's actually being more patient and more listening in, or I guess it maybe, yeah,
he seems more extreme to me in his older videos, so I think you're right. I think he's less extreme now, but still I think he's more impactful now, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, so but again, the extreme approaches, sort of the like bluntness of or honest way of advocating, I will say, yeah, that's not either wrong. And if someone is really passionate and that's what's the way they're good at communicating, then they should. And in the video, like I think like he didn't comment on reduction. Maybe he could have said like, yeah, good step, but what about the other animals and stuff like that. But still, I think he said it just to like hold her accountable for what she's doing, and not like how he was talking.
Gotcha. Okay, well, yeah, it was a good talk, and I'm gonna go check out the video again, and I'll be more cautious with future videos. So yeah, I truly do thank you for bringing up those ideas.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on, and yeah, it was a nice talk.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, you have a good night. We'll see you.
Yeah, you too. Goodbye.
Take care.